Namaskar. Good morning. Today we will be talking about Gargi-Yagnavalkya, who was a women saint, and her debate in the court of Raja Janak. So, before coming to the debate, let us first know who was Saint Gargi. So, as I said, Gargi-Yagnavalkya was a renowned women philosopher of the Vedic age, and she is also named as Brahmavadini, and she was daughter of sage Vachakni. And she is known for her debates in Brahma Upanishad. As far as early life is concerned, she belonged to the lineage of sage Garga, and Gargi inherited this rich legacy, which deeply influenced her worldview and intellectual pursuits from this school only. And Gargi was rigorously trained in Vedic literature, and she was well versed with all the four Vedas, the Rig Veda, the Yajur Samved, and the Atharvaved. And besides, she also studied Upanishads. And her education included cosmology, logic, and Brahma Vidya, that is the knowledge of ultimate reality. As far as her intellectual identity is concerned, as we see that she broke all the gender norms of her era and established the precedent of women in scholarly and spiritual traditions. And she is celebrated not only as a philosopher, but as a symbol of feminine wisdom, courage, and independent thought. Her fearless participation in the public debates and her respect among male sages make her perennial inspiration for seekers of truth, especially for women in philosophy and science. And the now we come to Brahma Upanishad. In this Upanishad, there is an incident mentioned in Raja Janak's court. Raja Janak was the king of Mithila, which is also at present known by the same name in the state of Bihar present. And he conducted uh, a Rajsuya Yagna. Raja Janak was a well-known philosopher, and he was into spiritual and philosophical thinking. And he used to organize these kind of spiritual and philosophical symposiums. So, as a part of the yajna, Janak offered a prize of 1,000 cows, and each cow was loaded with 10 gold coins. So, this was a huge reward. And this reward was not for any physical strength or ritual precision, but for the wisest sage who could explain the nature of Brahman, that is the ultimate reality. So there were numerous saints who came, and among them was Yajnavalkya, and he was a well-known saint and a philosopher, and he stood up and claimed the prize. Many other priests came to debate with him, but they were not able to stand before him for long. And ultimately, Gargi came up, and she said that she wanted to ask some questions. So she started with that since the whole world is woven back and forth on water, so on what the water is woven back and forth. And the reply was that water is woven on air. So if water is woven on air, then what on air is woven? So the reply came is the sun and the outer space. And ultimately, she went on, and ultimately, she came to the question of ultimate reality on what is the word Brahma. So the saint replied that don't ask too many questions or your head will shatter apart, because after so many revolving answers, you will get confused. And Gargi then remained silent for a while. From this debate, this was a half part of the debate, we can gather that when the saint says that earth is woven on water, so according to the modern science, we have the same notion that matter depends on fluid dynamics. When he says water is woven on air, so that parallels that there's a molecular motion, the Brownian motion, and in the gaseous state. When he says the air is woven on sky or space, that simplifies that the gas expands in space. When he says that Aksha as substratum of the space, which parallels the quantum vacuum and the zero-point energy of the modern science. When he talks about Indra or Devas, which parallels the laws and forces of physics. When he says Prajapati, that is the emergent order or the Big Bang. And when we say Brahma or Aksara, that is the unified field or the singularity. We will discuss it later on. Then after a while, Gargi proceeded. She once again stood up and she said that, now I want to ask you two questions. As a fierce warrior of Kashi or Vidya. So she went on. Then she said, on all these things that he mentioned earlier, on what these are, we went back and forth. So the reply was that everything is woven on Brahma, the ultimate reality. And this ultimate reality is imperishable. It can't be located. It can't be destroyed. It can't be created. Meaning that it's a form of an energy like. And this discussion went on, and ultimately it came that what do you mean by imperishing? So he replied that what he hears that can't be heard, what he thinks but can't be thought of, which perceives but can't be perceived. Besides this imperishable, there is one more that sees, no one that hears, no one that thinks, and no one that perceives. On this very perishable reality, the space is woven back and forth. Hearing these answers, Gargi addressed the Brahmins, all the Brahmins that were present there, that you should consider yourself to be lucky if you escape from this man by merely paying him your respect. None of you will ever defeat him in a theological debate. Because when we come to a point that everything is woven in a chain-like structure, one is dependent on other, and you cannot realize the ultimate reality. That is like a circle. A circle has no end point or a starting point, it is continuous. So now we see the relation between the questions of Gargi and what the answers to these questions the modern science give. When Gargi asks one, what is the word woven? The answer in the modern science is the quantum fields That is, the universe is pervaded by quantum fields, which gives rise to particles and masses. When Gargi asks what supports air, space, suns, so it is the modern concepts of dark matter and energy, where invisible forces and Mars energy account for the large scale structure of cosmos. When Gargi asks what is imperishable, so that is the unified field or the singularity. At the singularity, we know that everything, physical quantity goes to infinity. That is imperishable. And what binds past, present, and future? It has this continuum of space and time has been described by Albert Einstein in the theory of relativity. So this is how Gargi's inquiry has been answered by modern physics. And the ultimate, what is Brahm? So the answer was it's Akshar. So what is Akshar? It is the unchanging eternal substantum of behind all phenomena. And it is not perceivable by the senses, yet the basis of time and matter. It also excludes space because space and time are always interrelated. And further, they say that Akshara is what which does not decay or perish. Now we are in the modern science moving towards a similar direction with two profounded theories of string theory and the unified field theory. The string theory regards everything has been expanded or is spanned through a basis of a single vibration, and everything can be explained as a chain of vibrations or oscillations. Similarly, the unified field theory perceives everything existing in the universe in concept of a fundamental field. Now we come to what they achieved by the debate. Like I said, that Brahma is imperishable or Achyut, what they call. This symbolizes that consciousness is the fundamental reality. Brahma is ultimate knowledge, and when you gain ultimate knowledge, you move to self actualization, which is the fundamental reality. And modern scientific perspectives, like we pointed earlier also, is the quantum effect and the Wigner-Friend paradox. They also signify the similar that consciousness is a fundamental reality. We will go in detail about the relations of the quantum physics with the Indian philosophy in some other talk. Here we restrict ourselves to the concept that consciousness as a fundamental reality has a close connections with the quantum physics. Now we see, have a just observe the Gargi's method of inquiry. She sought answers through her debate, which were rational questioning, empirical deduction from the answers of the same. His philosophical humility seeking truth to the debate. And this is similar to the modern scientific methodology. She first hypothesized the thing, put it to a test through a debate, accepted the answers, and repeated the questions in other form to get clarification and confirm her inference. Now we see the relation between cosmology in Vedic thought versus modern science. Like cosmology, Vedic cosmology say about the cylindrical universe, while the Big Bang says that universe may undergo phases of expansion and contraction. Similarly, cyclical universe is also a chain of creation and destruction cycles. The Vedic cosmology says Akshaya is the ether or space and considered the subtlest element as the womb of all matter and energy. Whereas the modern physics, even empty space holds quantum fluctuations and latent energy. So we see a close congruence between the Vedic cosmology and this quantum physics. The Vedic cosmology regard consciousness as fundamental, and the modern physics, the theoreticians regard consciousness as the foundational feature of the cosmos through their notion that everything is conceptualized by the existence of the observer. It is the observer who perceives, who analyzes. Without the observer, the probability of finding an event is negligible. So now we should observe the legacy of Gargi. She was the first female cosmologist in the Indian history. She is mentioned in Great Susna and Yagnavalkya. And she influenced the modern discussions of gender in science and the philosophy of mind in physics. Her perspective about the philosophy was that consciousness is central. She pointed to an unseen intelligent principle that consciousness is the foundation behind all phenomena. And she emphasized that knowing is only possible through consciousness, suggesting that reality and awareness are fundamentally linked. For the modern mind, her message was that knowledge is layered, and the layers are the physical, mental, and spiritual. She laid an emphasis about inquiry into being as important as knowing, which is also supported by the modern management theory that self-actualization and self-realization are the ultimate human needs. Gargi went on synthesizing science with consciousness, and it can lead to a deeper truth design and a symbolic image. This can be summarized in one sentence that to know the world knows the self. विश्व को जानने के लिए अपने को जानिए. अपने को जानेंगे कैसे? There are various methods given by various propounders. We can follow any of the method of knowing yourself, of analyzing yourself. And what is the need of the time is that we should think and study that our ancient philosophy and the ancient science, which has been mentioned in various Vedic texts or the later Vedic texts, have a close resemblance with modern scientific concepts. And as a student of modern science, as a student who is studying modern science, I am of the view that we should correlate both, and our ultimate aim is to know the ultimate truth, that is Brahma. And we are all working day and night to know it, to realize it. And that's all for today. Thanks for the patience.